also the awakening process and how it can affect each individual. So again, we're all here on a journey. It's not necessarily always an easy journey. And again, the reason that we have incarnated is to understand energy. So understand the way that energy transfers, understanding the way that our energy affects others and others' energy affects us, and coming to the realization of our beingness. So understanding what it is to be, to know, to seek. And with this particular body system that we've been given, it comes with its complexities. It comes with things that are difficult to navigate often. And the more empathetic you are and the more awakened you become, the more hypersensitive you are to energy. So I want to talk a little bit more about that and how to ground yourself, how to understand this process. So one of the first things that I noticed for myself is that I was very spatially aware. So when people would come into my aura, I would instantaneously pick up on their vibration, what they're feeling, what they're thinking. And again, increasingly as I purify, all of my thoughts and all of my distortions are eradicated and I'm very peaceful. When I come into somebody else's aura that is not in peace or not being authentic, I can immediately recognize all of the plays they are making on their chessboard. It's just very evident. And so that telepathic communication is something that is very hallmark of the spiritual awakening. You really start to understand what others are doing even before they understand it themselves. And this can be quite disarming because you just have this top-down eagle's eye view of things. Now, it doesn't trigger you, it doesn't really bother you in the sense that, it's not too much information per se, but it can feel a little bit isolating in the sense that you will encounter a lot of other individuals that are very unawakened or unaware or living from a very third dimensional ego-based perspective, and it can be increasingly difficult to interact with really shallow conversations. So you'll often find yourself wanting to retreat because you realize in this energy exchange the valuation of the energy exchange. So things like small talk or simple conversations that yield no learning, that really have no purpose, or that the conversation in and of itself is of a negative energy or seating itself in the negative polarity, you'll be able to identify that very quickly. So if, let's say, you're at work and a group of individuals are gossiping about somebody else or talking negatively about somebody else, something that would hurt another or would be intentionally to pull somebody's energy down, you'll find you can't even partake in those conversations. You'll be pulling yourself out of those conversations. And again, from an energetic perspective, all this means is that energetically, you can't tolerate that negative lower vibration. So you're understanding that your energy, everything that you are, your essence, is moving up that vibrational scale. So anything that is not serving you, you won't be in alignment with it, and you actually won't be able to even stand it. Sorry, my little cactus keeps poking me in the elbow here. But yeah, you just won't even be able to stand that energy or that dialogue. Because remember, the words we say, they are a frequency. So our voice is a frequency. The words that we are actually emitting has a frequency and a carrier wave that affects the quantum field. Feel it as more and more, especially if you're an empathetic, kind person, a big, a giver, somebody that is really in service and giving your energy. Those that are imbalanced will be attracted to your balanced energy. And it's because they are seeking that balance. Just think of the polarities, or that magnetic, the magnetic poles of, a magnet. Everything is balanced. We're always trying to balance everything out in the universe. So if you have a person around you, or a group of people that are very unbalanced, they will be very magnetized to a balanced energy, or an energy that has a high ratio of positive output. So if you're very giving, if you have a lot of wisdom, if you have a lot of light, others will be attracted to you. But oftentimes they're attracted to you because they don't want to do their own work, and being in your presence calms them and sets them at ease in terms of the quantum field. But what it does is it imbalances you, and you'll feel it in your aura as a kind of pulling. So as they move towards you on the energy grid, and you feel their kind of chaotic energy, I'm to the point now where I have a lot of, telepathy, and I can actually feel their thought forms, and some of them are very chaotic, some of them are very dark, they're learning, but some of these darker thought forms are, they're consuming, they're wanting to consume the energy of others, because again, they're asleep, they're not awake. Now this can play out in multiple ways. So it can be that victim mentality where they're trying to pull on the energy by playing the victim, and really wanting to steal that love source energy. Instead of, when they're playing the victim, instead of just doing their own work, they want somebody to hear that lower vibrational, conversation. Not that you don't hold space for them. Being very balanced, you're always going to hold space for those that are not in a good place, but you have to be energetically yourself very balanced and very high vibrational. And then you open the door of counsel. Then you basically say, I'm here, this is my wisdom. And for myself, the easiest way to do it, to keep my energy very pure, is to do videos, because I'm not letting anybody specifically into my auric field in a very close range. It's somewhat detached and removed, but I can still help without draining myself. And often, obviously reach a lot more of the collective consciousness this way, okay? And again, everything happens for a reason. That's why the internet was put in place, for that interconnectivity between our collective consciousness. And as things evolve, that's why we all have, cell phones and devices, so that we can all learn in this very interconnected way as we, really coalesce as a human collective consciousness. That's also why, there's YouTube, because each consciousness can now project itself out to the masses, to that multiplication factor, that holographic aspect to our universal fractal self, okay? There's no coincidence to any of these things. Humanity has had in the past, or through its linear timelines, raised itself to the junction point in terms of the equilibrium of planet Earth, where these things were allowed to out-manifest, so that the collective consciousness could share information. Previous to these timelines, had these technologies been given to human beings, they would have been used not in the correct ways. I'm not saying they're used 100% in the correct ways now, but there are enough checks and balances within the international communities and within the global human rights movements and the women's rights movements, and enough equality now that these platforms can exist, still in a distorted fashion to some extent, but enough of the correct truth, the pure teachings, are allowed to be disseminated to the masses. This is part of how we are learning through the mechanism of the body, the dynamic kind of unfoldment process, how to work with our own energy centers and the energy centers of others, and then also how to interact on a higher vibrational existence with others. Because again, once you get up into the higher realms, there is no attack, there is no distortion. So we have to move from this very lower level, third dimensional thinking where here on planet Earth, people manipulate each other. They try to negotiate to get the upper hand. They lie, they're deceitful. There's jealous energies that, want others to fail. There's very narcissistic energies that want everything for themselves. And all of these sort of lower vibrational energies, competition, judgment, comparing, these are all negative calibrations, and they're very low vibrational energies. So as you go through this ascension process, you're actually going to be processing those frequencies and those energetic codes out of your aura. That's part of the process, out of your emotional body, out of your spiritual body, out of your physical body, out of your intellectual body again. And this is difficult because we have all grown up with being taught by society that some of these things that we do actually produce reward. So, if we can be the most manipulative, or if we can negotiate well, lots of cultures elevate negotiation. So if you can really barter that other person down, that's a good thing. That's been taught by generations passed down. But actually that a spirit of negotiating to try to leave the other with lack and not coming towards them with as much offering of service, love, and kindness, valuing the other is the highest form of gratitude and seeing and serving another soul. So here's an example. Even in business or anything I do, I've learned that if somebody puts a value on their service, okay, or value on who they are, and that's the value that that other person has decided, it's not my position to evaluate them. So I'm always going to pay what they are requesting in honor of them, in gratitude, and I'll pay them more, I'll tip them. Because again, it's my offering to their energy field. I want to always give more, to augment, to extend. And it's a different way of thinking from the old way of thinking, but it's more beautiful, and it opens the heart space. When we treat others in this way, we open them up to not feel guarded and compressed. When others can see the world as loving and giving and in service of them, it allows the inner child in them to open up and flower and become more one with all, but also more safe within society, within the world at large, and not seeing the world as a place that needs to be conquered and scary and that we need to guard against, but a place that we can play with, that we can interact with, and it can create beautiful a beautiful unfoldment of what reality should be. So again, it's a bit of a different thinking, but when we're understanding energy and how we can interact with others around us, these are some of the very powerful things that will start to heal our heart, will start to heal our auras and the energies around us, and will have that ripple effect to our human family and to the earth plane and the biosphere and everything like that. So, there's so many powerful lessons in the things that trigger us, in really looking at what around us sort of irritates us, even if we're not showing that irritation to the outside world. If we're just experiencing that irritation of somebody else's energy internally, it's really, really important to take a break. So more about the subtle triggers. When we are irritated by another's energy, and again, I had a lot of downloads. I'm having a lot of downloads with a lot of this and trying to integrate it as best I can. What it's always asking us to do, what a trigger is always asking us to do, is put ourselves in the most high vibrational mindset in that now moment. So if somebody is irritating us, they're doing something that's really annoying, what we're asked to do is step out, observe, and put them in the view set or mindset of a child. Okay, obviously, a lot of times they're grown-up human beings that are irritating us, okay? But if we can look at them through the lens of a childlike energy, we can immediately see them, forgive them, and understand that what they are doing is an innocent behavior. It is asleepness. They are asleep. So if they are, asking a lot of foolish questions just to pull in your attention, you might find that irritating because the questions might keep going on and on and on, and they're not really seeking type questions. They're not really purposeful. They're very surface level, and they're often just made to, as mental chatter, or, that out expression of the ego just nattering away and asking questions for the sake of asking them and pulling that energy, away from that center point, okay? So don't be triggered by that, in the sense of don't let it piss you off. Just see them as a child that is crying out for attention. If anybody's inner child through unbalanced behavior is crying out for attention, it's because they're not perceiving love through the heart chakra. They're not receiving that love from the all that is the field, the source, okay? And so they're trying to externally link their energy field to something that they anticipate or they perceive as a loving, warm energy, okay? But it can actually work against them, because they're not doing their own work. They're not realizing that to get love, to gain love, you have to be ready. You have to be a receiver of that love. So you have to have your heart chakra, your heart center open. And the only way to do this is to be vulnerable. That means you have to let your guard down. You have to open up to your true feelings. And if you aren't able to do that, if you aren't able to truly express what you're feeling without fear, you're closed off, okay? And so you're gonna have kind of childish, unpure, unawakened ways of communicating. The other thing that people can do is, maybe be sarcastic, be over the top, like, very high energy, kind of like, hello, I'm here, watch me, see me, here I am, almost like manic type energies. Of course, manic type energies, where the person is just in your face and just trying to like suck the attention out of the room. It's like that attention seeking behavior. Now, there's a difference between somebody that is seeking attention in a toxic way and somebody that is just in their own flow state. Sometimes you'll go into a bar or club, or you're out and about and somebody is just dancing and being themselves and into themselves, like just being them in their flow state, and that is very magnetizing because they're not worried about what other people are doing. From the collective, others might say, oh, that person is showing off, because there's a magnetism being pulled towards them because they're being their authentic self. But it can be, to the unawakened collective, it can look like showing off. However, there's another type of toxic energy where a being is not showing off, but is like acting out, like being larger than life to get attention and looking for that attention, and then therefore, trying to gather that attention to themselves. It's a different type of output. One is sending out love and light, attention, and to stop and feel your way through. This is a feeling journey. When you start this ascension journey, you really have to understand that you are going to have to get to know yourself. This is an individual journey. It's scary because, again, we're used to latching on, we're used to codependency in a very toxic way so that we don't have to do our own work. And when you go on this journey of seeking, it is an individual journey. Now remember, in this, and this will be kind of a safeguard or a security blanket for you, it is you walking with divine. So it's not individual in the sense that your ego self needs to be scared. Your ego will be triggered, and it will feel fear, and it will feel frustration and irritation, anger at times, heavy emotions. But if you can just center yourself into the fact that you're making that journey, you're bridging that gap, and you're taking yourself home. So you're walking that path between the ego self, allowing it to disintegrate piece by piece, and moving step in step back towards divine consciousness and returning home, returning back into God. And of course, you separated from that divine energy. You did that to learn, to seek, to understand all that is. But in that journey, you built around yourself this egoic mind, this mind that was the mechanism of separation. And in that mechanism of separation, the lower centers, the primal mind, that which sits in fear and attack, was part of that construct of your ego. So when you're moving out of these lower energy centers up into the upper echelons of the mental construct, you still have to break that up. It's like breaking that ice. If you're trying to get to that wonderful pure clear water below, and you have this sheet of ice, you're going to have to chip it away, and it's going to take work, and there is a process in it. Okay, so remember, when you find that you feel these intense energies bubbling up, triggering you. So specifically, and I mean, anger is a very easy one. When that anger is coming forward, it's a very strong, fiery, emotional energy, and an emotional, it takes hold of your entire being. Feel it, work through it, but make sure you don't allow that energy or that vibration to hurt others. Just observe it. Kind of take that third party view, step outside yourself, and ask yourself, what is triggering this anger? I love journaling for this reason, because you can kind of stop and write it out. You can also make videos for yourself. You can talk to your friends. You can talk to people that you feel in your environment are very wise. I always say, if something's triggering you, go to the person that you feel is the wisest. Don't go to the people that maybe will help you cultivate that energy in a toxic way, because again, there's going to be mirrors around you that will allow you to do or to be very toxic in that energy. So seek out those with the highest wisdom that can really gently move you through that energy. Now, myself, I don't get triggered by immense anger or crazy sadness anymore. I tend to work more with the subtle energies in my energy field. So if things are kind of irritating you, and I find for myself now, it's more spatially. If I'm working with my energy field and somebody is in my space or crowding me or coming into my space and trying to disarm my energy in a way that it is it's childish. I don't know. It's like they're needing to suck energy from me because of their own insecurities. I don't like that energy. It offsets where my mission and my goal is towards you. And the other is that very insecure energy. Now I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna be bold, but I'm gonna look around, like, who's watching me, who sees me, who's wanting me right now, like that attention seeking, right? So this can also play out for a toxic low vibrational energy of checking social media a lot, like who's watching me, who sees me, who is liking what I'm doing, are others, do others approve of me? Am I doing this right? Like, am I beautiful? Am I attractive? Like, that is a very unawakened, three-dimensional, frantic energy. When people are doing that, if you find yourself doing that and you're like, kind of in that like desperate energy, that again is a trigger of not being in the oneness, that centeredness. You're not seeing yourself, your authentic self, and your beauty. Okay, so just remembering that it is so super important that we ground ourselves in the beingness of who we are, allowing our flow state to happen, but don't do it for the wrong reasons. Don't be going into your flow state so that you can garner attention from others. That's not the point. The point is not to get as many likes as possible. The point is not to get as many followers. I mean, that's great. If somebody follows your advice and it's good advice, fine. But stop that calibration. That's the ego. The ego mind wants to know how many. It wants to quantify everything. It wants to qualify everything. The intuitive divine mind needs none of that, because it knows it is all. It knows it has everything. It knows it's balanced, it's centered. It is everything anybody would ever need. It is enough. It doesn't have to. So even from a body standpoint here, okay, when you're in your true authentic flow state, okay, and you're in your beingness, your oneness, right? You don't need to go out and get a bunch of plastic surgery. You don't have to run to the mall and consume, buy things and fill yourself with stuff. You don't have to have that fancy car or the perfect life or, the perfect friends. You don't need to take selfies and post things all day long, because it doesn't matter. What matters once you become grounded and whole is how you feel. Are you feeling good? Are you doing the things that make you feel good? Are you playing with energy and playing with your own energy in a way that fills you up? Like when you're full and you are over, like if you're bubbling over with this amazing divine energy, then you want to give. Then you can go and be and do your passion, and like things start spilling out of you, just this creative force. That's that divine force. But you can't be sitting over here in ego wanting to know, who else is seeing me? Like, who loves me? Who wants me? Who likes me? Okay. And another way that this can play out, okay, is actually what I'm going to talk about in my next video, which is this toxicity in interpersonal relationships and special relationships. I think it's really important that we understand what a healthy, healed, divine relationship looks like, whether that be from a platonic sense, a friend sense, family sense, romantic relationship sense, okay? All of these things matter in terms of us as human beings learning about energy fields, our energy field, our auric field, our soul mission on planet Earth. So again, it's all learning. It's all about raising our vibration, getting to that equilibrium where we feel that light energy, we feel that love, creative, safety. The most beautiful energy you can be in is peace. Peace is bliss. You will feel bliss when you're peaceful. And safety and peace are linked, okay? They need each other to exist. You can't feel peace if you don't feel safe. Okay, so this is the upper realms that we're trying to integrate